Very good afternoon to all of you. Hope you can hear me well. So while we're waiting for more people to stream in, I think we should all get started, right? Okay, so thank you so much for joining us in this virtual #LearnX network session. And today's topic is on 21st century brand transformation and marketing strategies for businesses. So we'll be covering a few key things like the future of marketing, omni-channel marketing, and also we're going to have our guest speaker today, Mr. Yeoh Chow, who will be joining us. All right, so, okay, let's move on. All right, so the agenda for today. All right, so as you can see here, we're going to have an introduction about what we do, of course, and a little bit of introduction on the topic for today before we head on to have a fireside chat with Chen Chow, where you also get to ask him questions. All right, you get to participate a lot. So there's a chat function over here. So you'll get to participate as we go along, even later on during my presentation. Okay, and after which we'll have a group consultation with us, right? So where you can get to ask any questions with regards to your business, and we'll give you some tips. All right? Okay. If all is good and you can hear me well, you can see the slides, everything is good, just type in a 1. Just type in a 1. I just want to make sure that everything is working. The chat is working. Everything's good. Just type in 1 in the group chat. If everything is working well, you can hear, you can see. And yeah, okay, great. Fantastic. All right. So, okay. Great. So a little bit about myself. So I'm the founder of Hashtaqs. I'm a Singapore certified management consultant as well, and founder of Hashtaqs and HER Entrepreneur. And that's just some credentials about me. If you'd like to connect with me, feel free to connect on LinkedIn. All right, I'm on LinkedIn. So just type in Renee Tan, the lady in blue. I think you should be able to find me, right? And a little bit about us. So Hashtaqs, we uplift businesses in a few key areas. So one is internationalization, brand transformation, marketing advisory, and digital transformation as well for businesses in terms of ensuring that they have the tools necessary to help them, whether to help them to increase brand awareness, to help them to generate leads, and also what we also do is offline type of marketing where we bring in the prospects or customers wherein they're able to engage with them. All right, so these are some of the activities that we do for our clients, MNCs to SMEs as well. And we're currently in Singapore and Malaysia. So internationalization programs are planned for next year, since this year we all can't travel. So these are some of the programs that we organize for businesses where SME businesses could hop on the business mission trips across Southeast Asia, and you could hop on the Deal Hunter programs. Even for now, it is possible for one-to-one business matching. And there are also funding support schemes available for Singaporean local businesses. Okay, so in terms of marketing, you'll be able to ask me more questions later on. So I'll be sharing with you a little bit more insights into the 21st century, brand transformation and marketing shortly. So what's the purpose of such webinars, or we call it the LearnX network or the LearnXConsult sessions? The whole idea is to educate the business community in the functional business strategies, to create this community such that all of you can network, ask questions, and grow beyond the area you're in, right, and grow regionally as well. So some of our past events we've done are a mix of virtual sessions. These are some virtual sessions that we've done. We have also done live sessions wherein we had monthly get-togethers of businesses, and we have annual conferences at the same time where we bring in C-suites and founders of various notable brands from different countries, different industries, and various communities. We're talking about the C-suites like the likes of Christy Ng Shoes, Oh My Home, well, we've got the Cradle Fund, MDAC. In Singapore, you've got Wohub Group and whatnot as well. All right, so these are just some of the examples. And we also do have leadership master classes for the founders in C-suites as well. and site visits also. This is just some of the event highlights photos that we've taken since last year's event. We do this year and year for the past 3 years. And this year, everything was converted to virtual. And hopefully we could resume our hybrid or live session soon, hopefully next year. Okay, so now let's head on to today's topic. All right, so a quick question, right? I just need you guys to type it in so I understand where you are. So what do you think a brand is? So what's a brand? So feel free to type in the chat, okay? What do you think a brand is? What's a brand? Just type it in, come on, participate. What's a brand to you? Come on, let's see what you have in mind. Okay, anyone? Okay, what's a brand? Still typing? All right, so okay, ways to identify a product. Okay, all right, that's a good answer as well. A mark to a company, the positioning of the company. That's great. So you have some basic knowledge. So a brand basically do have such elements. So thank you so much for your participation. Well, a brand consists of a few things, right? Name, logo, identity, colors, your strategy, your marketing, all constitutes that brand. And yes, you're right. Brand actually helps one identify from one product to another, from one company to another. It differentiates yourself from others, okay? And therefore you have a brand. Now, but what can brands do for you? Why is it so important? So now the first thing is that they can create awareness, right? An image for your products and services. They can create a differentiation from other brands. And the strong brands can help you improve your marketing effectiveness and efficiency, right? Let's compare between a Starbucks coffee versus a unbranded coffee. Same cup, right? No brand, that's all. Same quality. When these two brands start to do marketing with the same marketing spend, you realize the one with the stronger brand will definitely do much better in terms of performance. And that has nothing to do with the marketer changing anything, everything, all else equal, and you select the same profiles, but you have different type of effectiveness, and you wonder why, and you say, what's wrong, right? Technically, there's nothing wrong. It's just that a strong brand can improve your marketing effectiveness. And strong brand is also a promise to customers because they remember you, and people like to buy from brands in which they are familiar, right? They're familiar with, and they have heard of, and it's something that they're not afraid to use. So a strong brand is a promise to customers, and that helps you build credentials. Okay. Now, what's 21st century brand? Now think of the Starbucks brand. The Starbucks have created this mental map. When you think of Starbucks, you think of several things, right? There are more people admitting, right, as we go along. So, yep. Okay, please admit them. All right. So, and it gives you the different thoughts, right, about the brand, right? There are thoughts about how it should be. When you think of Starbucks, you think of an earth color, think that it's relaxing, you think of the nice music that they play, you think of the aroma when you go into the store, different things, right? And it forms that mental map. So think about, how about your brand? I see that, Caroline, you also own coffee, you produce coffee. So think about, when people think of your coffee, what do they think of? Maybe they think of you, well, that's great. So you have associated yourself with the coffee. Maybe they've thought of the very unique aroma, right? And they associate it with the brand, right? So such things are really important when you can create that mental map, right? Okay, so next thing is that brand perception. Now, everything is about perception. Business owners will always think that their brand is the best, the product is the best, the service is the best, right? Obviously, you got to believe in your products before you can sell to customers, yes. But always think about the perception from your customers. If your customers think that your product is of low quality, and therefore I should pay low. And you realize that your customers will always be haggling with you, and you wonder why. Is it because your brand perception is seen as a lower tier, right? People will not do Starbucks and haggle. People will not do that. But people will go to a pasar malam, they will go to a night market, and they will haggle because their perception of that store is, oh, it's cheap rental and you got this at a good deal. I think I should get a good rate, and therefore I haggle. So that's the reason why people negotiate a lot with some brands, and to some, they don't even negotiate. And you wonder why. So strong brands command a price premium, full stop, right? It gives you that perception of superior delivery of products or services. And it gives you that standard, right? And you think of Starbucks as an example today, because almost all of you should know this brand. And Starbucks, when you think of it, right, it has a complete vertical integration. There are various ways in which they can sell this. They have different types of products. They sell coffee, they sell cake sandwiches, they sell maybe salad for some places, and they also sell products, right? Christmas is around the corner. They'll be selling the water bottles, umbrellas, and whatnot, right? And it's a controlled retail distribution. Wherever they are, whichever part of the world, all of their coffees and teas will taste the same, except for slight variation if they have certain promos related to the season, right? And you always think Starbucks will give you a rich sensory retail experience. You see people when they study, they choose to study in Starbucks. They go in there, they don't want to come out, right? They get so used to the smell, they're addicted to the smell. They love Starbucks. When you choose Starbucks, you won't go to a Yakun, you won't go to a coffee shop for their coffee anymore. So the brand perception is so important. So it also leads to positive word of mouth and publicity for your brand. So it is very important how you build your brand proper. And if you don't have that knowledge, you have any questions with regards to brand development, feel free to ask us later. So, but how do you measure brand equity? So these are some tips, right? Now, first of all, you always think about who are your target audience. Be very clear. You should have done your market research before you have start selling your products or services. So who are your target audience? If these are the target audience, are they even aware of your brand, or are they more aware of your competitors' brands? And you ask them, what's the first brand that comes to mind, right? So number one, awareness. Number two, differentiation. Yes, there may be different coffees, there may be different types of brands competing with you, and you're just like the same as everyone else. You think that, our service is just no different. I'm just a software company. Yeah, but what is your differentiating factor? You must find a way to differentiate it. Is your brand unique or different? Or is there a niche that you cover that you're so good at, right? That you try to dominate in your niche. So you need to be able to differentiate. And number three is value. Does your brand deliver a good value for the price? Now, like I said, this is all dependent on perception again. Value is all based on perception as well. How someone, relates a price to a certain product or service will be based on their past experience. Okay, will be based on their past experience and their knowledge, and therefore they're able to put a price to all the products and services as a rough gauge. The brain automatically could tell them, right, this is expensive, or this is cheap, this is reasonable, this is low quality, or this is high quality. So this is all about psychology of the consumers, and you need to understand the consumer's behavior today and how they value your product or services. And the other would be accessibility. In today's time, you have to ensure that your products and services are easily accessible. People can reach out to you easily to buy. You have an e-commerce store where they could purchase, check out, and it's all seamless, just in a few clicks. And number five, which is so important, is emotional connection. Does your brand connect with people on an emotional level, or is it just going to be very transactional? If you're going to be a very transactional brand, is it something that people will remember? All right. So think about that. What is that emotional connection that you're going to create such that people will remember? Okay. So, just like McDonald's, think about McDonald's, how they portray in their advertisements about happiness, right? The kind of emotional connection that they connect with their audience, all about happiness, fun, delicious food, but it's not exactly healthy, right? So that is their emotional connection. All right. So next, let's talk about the evolution of digital marketing here. So here we see that things have changed along the years. All right, 1992, people are using SMS, right, to send out messages, to run their ads. And then even in 1998, people are using it, a Google SEM methods. In 2000, AdWords, PPC, and whatnot. And 2010, you'll see like a shift, Instagram. All right. Internet surpasses newspaper. Now, even today, people are not willing to pay for digital newspaper, not even at 99 cents per month, right? So you can imagine how difficult it is to do business, how you used to do business before. People pay to subscribe for newspapers. So every day, people actually, send you newspapers. But today, not even digital papers. People think that content should be free. So 2016 onwards, Internet of Things, right? Your mobile overtakes your email, your social, your online ad spend is almost the equivalent or even more today compared to TV spend, right? The audiences are moving away from the traditional means of media, TV, radio as well. So you got to think of more useful ways to engage with your audience of today. So a little bit of evolution of marketing. I mean, the schools today still teach the students 4Ps. It is basic. Yeah, we know it's about product, place, promotion, price. But why do I say marketing has evolved beyond that? Why is because, things have changed, right? So 4Ps is no longer that important. So what if you have product like this? So what if you have a phone product? So what makes you so special? So many other brands that have the same product. So what customers want today is different. It's not just about the product. They go to a store. It's not just to purchase the product because now they can do it online, right? So you need to create an experience. And what is that experience for them? Now, it's not about place. Last time, it's so superior. If you have a store, you can shout out to your friends, say, hey, I have a store today. I have a place. I have a huge office. Now, it's not about that. Customers want to see that you're everywhere. You're online, you're offline, omni-channel, you're everywhere, multi-channel. They want to see you. They want to get close to you. They want to get close to your brand, right? Promotion. So last time you give them discounts. You find ways to entice people through discounts. But today, so many brands and products, you go to the supermarket, almost everything, so many things under promotion. It becomes so noisy a place that promotions no longer really work. Will it really work, right? Promotions, think about all the marketplaces today. You have your Lazada, your Shopee, your Qoo10, and many others, right? And then everyone is shouting out, okay? And it depends who has more marketing spend will win, right? And every day they just run advertisements and you see promotions, right? You've got initially it was like 1 1, and then you've got 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5, and then now you have 10 10 11 11 12 12. There's no end. So every month you have promotions. So in a way, this is what we call sort of a desensitization, right? Desensitization of the audience. It happens when you keep pushing them the same thing, right? Until they feel so desensitized to promotion, they're not buying anymore. They're not buying because of promotion. So you got to move away from that and go into evangelism. Evangelism is where today you see more and more what we call influencers or KOLs. And these influencers, KOLs of today, or you can call them micro influencers. Actually, you and I are the best influencers, right? A normal person can be an influencer as well. Shouting out, giving referrals to others, sharing with people that how great your brand is will be more useful than a promotion of before, right? So this is what we call evangelism. It's just much more important. And sometimes before you think about the price, right, should it go high, low? Price still stays, right? Price is important because you need to price yourself competitively with the market. Yes, it is. But now consumers, different consumers have different level of sensitivity to price. So some people, if you ask them to pay, it's like no kick to them, right? It's not about paying for that. I can't afford it, right? But if you give them an idea, like, how about an exchange? How about something that we could barter? You help me promote this, I help you promote that, there is an exchange. This is how businesses do business today, right? Partnerships and things like that. It's no longer like I pay you, you pay me, purely, right? Unless it's pure transactional sort of activity. So do understand that things are moving from the 4 Ps to the 4 Es, and things have transited and evolved along the way. So the future of marketing has changed from past. Things are traditional channels, and you're moving into the future. And if you look into the future, people are integrating smart home devices, right? VR. Lately, also, you see a lot of ads on 5G coming along, right? So AR, VR is going to be made possible. Your approaches to things will be different. Will be AI driven, customer first, right? And strategy will be a mix of digital and physical, right? Location-based everything, right? In the shops, in certain shops, you will see that they would have certain tools in place where they will be able to detect and be able to send you push messages, right? So you got to do all these kind of different things, and you got to leverage on digital means, right, and technology to help you. So as you can see, in terms of technology, before, people just rely on telephone, CRM, which is still relevant today. It's still relevant today. But in the future, we're moving into things like beacons. People are already starting to use, right? Machine learning, AI. Yes, it's just that the general public or businesses will have to catch up on these new technologies. So past, present, and future, you see, this is like an evolution. So the future of marketing is going to be very different, right? Okay, so now think about whether you are really meeting your customers' needs, right? So think about your Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? Now your customers pyramid, right, is no longer like before, like our parents or grandparents' time, where they purchase because of a need. Right now, the basic would be a functional need, right? What is that functional need, right? If you can serve that basic purpose, that is most important, right? It saves time, help you make more money, help you connect with people, blah, blah, blah. Then the next tier would be if there is an emotional connection. Why should I buy from you? If there are like 100 over brands that have the same functions, why should I buy from you? I buy from a brand in which I feel emotionally attached to, right? When I see this brand, it is nostalgic, it brings me good memory, or it is therapeutic, right? It helps me think of positive things or whatnot. Up the tier will be something that is life-changing, all right? How you can help them shape their own life differently. And the highest tier will be on social impact. As it goes up, it's all about feeling good. It's all emotional, right? So this is how it is. Think about, are you meeting customers' needs in this area, or are you portraying a product is a product, but how you convey the message in all of your marketing touch points, online, offline, your website, your social media, are you connecting with them on this level? All right. So therefore, you will always have to think, what are the different channels, different types of channels that you can put together in your marketing strategy. When we talk about multi-channel, it just means connecting with different types of marketing channels, right? But if you talk about omni-channel, what it means is that it is customer-centric. It focuses on the customer, and this customer interacts with the various channels which are possible for them for a seamless experience. Let me give you an example. Back to Starbucks. You may have a Starbucks app. So this is digital. You still go to the shop, you smell the aroma, you buy that coffee, you can pay with the app. You pay with the app, you gain more points, you could check your reward points, and you could redeem with your app again the next time, right? So this is an online offline experience in which your customer interact with your various channels, and they can go social media, redeem it, they can scan a QR, redeem something, and it's all in the app again. So this is what it means, omni-channel marketing. All right, so I hope all of these will give you great insights. And for those local-based companies, especially those based in Singapore, if you are looking at opportunities to improve your brand or marketing to help your company better and capture your target audience and differentiate yourself better, feel free to reach out to us, because there is actually a support level. There is a funding scheme for SMEs up to 80%, right? And this is on Enterprise Singapore's website as well. So if you have any queries on this, feel free to reach out to us. All right, so next up will be something interesting. We're going to welcome our guest speaker. All right, Mr. Yeoh Chow. All right, so a little bit about him. So Chen Chow is the co-founder of FAVE. He is the next generation merchant digital platform in Southeast Asia. And FAVE, I think most of you would know FAVE. Like, they help to digitize tens of thousands of local businesses, from restaurants to cafes, spas, beauty wellness, and whatnot. And FAVE has acquired 3 of the Groupon subsidiaries in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. He's also the co-founder of KFit, a regional fitness sharing platform in Southeast Asia. And prior to that, he was the regional operations director for Groupon Asia Pacific, product manager for JobStreet, management consultant for Accenture. He's now a fellow and an alumnus of Cornell University. He's also an angel investor. He's invested in numerous early stage startups in the region. All right, so I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Chen Chow, right? On screen, come on, join us on screen, right? Okay, let's welcome Chen Chow on screen to join us. Hi, Chen Chow.
Hello.
Okay, I think you need to tilt yourself. Okay, all right. Hope all of you are able to see as well. Okay, Chen Chow, all good. All right. Okay, now tell us, Chen Chow, today's topic is about 21st century brand transformation and marketing strategies for businesses. Tell us a little bit about how FAVE is doing things differently this season. Yeah, what are you guys up to?
Hi everyone. Yeah. So thanks Renee for inviting me, and then good to see you all here. Yeah. So I think for us, I think right now with COVID, I think we are focusing a lot on our vision towards a merchant digital platform. So I think where we focus on is understanding the offline businesses and focus on serving their needs. So I think that during COVID basically means that a lot of things are shifting. I think digitalization and cashless are the trend. So I think a lot of it is understanding that needs and go beyond. So for example, recently in Singapore, one of the things that we did was that we did an integration with DBS PayLah and Singtel Dash, where enable consumers in DBS PayLah and Singtel Dash to have the same functionality of FavePay in their app. That means in the PayLah app and in Dash app. So basically, ensuring that customers who don't even have Fave app or who don't need to download Fave app to be able to enjoy the same service and feature. So I think that's sort of one of the ways that we go in, because I think Singapore right now, among the adults, I think there's 65% of Singaporean adults have Fave app, which means there's still 35% of Singaporean adult doesn't have a Fave app yet. I say adult is 18 years old and above. So I think that then this will enable those people that have a Singtel or DBS to be able to have it. So basically just extend that reach across.
I see, fantastic. So tell us how, quite a number of brands, right, spending on different types of marketing activities, right? How would you allocate your marketing spend, right, for a startup company like FAVE? A mix of traditional or all digital means, 100% digital, or how would you allocate?
Yeah. So I think for the last 6 months or so, our marketing budget is actually zero. So we actually don't have a budget. We actually, and I think this is sort of a concept that I think maybe Uber even started it some time ago, where they going on a $0 budget. I think in a way Grab does it for quite a bit of aspects as well. So I think that we since late last year we sort of cut off all the spend from performance marketing, which is like Google, Facebook, or the affiliate shop back and all those kind of things. And I think rely on organic. And so I think a lot of it is that, and I think one of the things is I think the marketing spend is like a drugs, right? So you spend on it, you're thinking that it will bring. And I think we tested it, we take it all those off, and actually it has no impact on the business. We don't even realize it, except for saving the cost, right? And I think that's where a lot of businesses, I think we see the trend on it. I think US recently, there's also a movement where people reduce a lot on their spend. So I would say that a lot of it is, one of the movement now is sort of like taking the budget and basically turn it into delivering value to the consumer. So save that cost and reinvest into bringing better product services and experience for our users. So I think, and merchants, right? So I think that would be perhaps one of the better way to do it. And I think when we say marketing, a lot of it, then when we have a $0, then a lot of thing of how do we barter trade, right? So then we can work with different platforms, let's say like this DBS and Singtel. So then we work with them to synergize and say, okay, how do we optimize, right? So I think right now Singapore, we have a Gain City campaign that we participate with them. So I think a lot of it is zoom out and I think of like, okay, now how do we leverage what we each have, right? So I think on our side, we got 65% of Singaporean adults on our platform. They are engaged. And then we have tens of thousands of businesses that are on. So how do you connect that dots and leverage? So I think, of course, every brand is different. Have we spent marketing? Yes, we have spent in the earlier days. And I think one thing that to even look at is, let's say you think of Amazon, Facebook. They don't spend marketing on their own, right? But they captured marketing dollars from others. So I think that's sort of one of the ways to look at as you build on. So would it for a early stage startup, do you need to spend? Maybe likelihood you need to spend some bit. But I think once you hit a decent saturation point, then a lot more is on a brand building, a lot of collaborations. Like let's say Singapore, so we collaborate with Singapore government on the Heartlands initiative. So we shifted a lot of our focus to work with the mall owners, like we work with Marina Square, we work with Kallang Mall and a bunch of other malls to drive synergy across. So I think that's sort of how I look at marketing. And I think this will continue to evolve. So I won't dare to say that in 6 months time, maybe this is the right way. Maybe at that time, they require different things, right? So I think for us, it's constantly evolve, sensing on the pulse, and understanding what the needs are and then tweaking. And I think a lot of it for brand is just to try, right? So I think it's focusing, understanding on brand value and optimizing and trying it. So that would enable, right? So let's say like Malaysia recently for the August and September, we work with the finance ministry to channel their government support to the SMEs. So that one, instead of government going to each of the small stores, small restaurants, small retailers, we work with government to basically subsidize, right? And basically that was how we do our national service and basically driving across, right? So I think a lot of those kind of things, like recently in Malaysia as well, we did a initiative with Malaysia Central Provident Fund, EPF in Malaysia words, where we basically work with them to drive consumer to do their national service in feedback on the EPF or CPF program, right? So I think a lot of those kind of things are where we spend. Let's say example for our merchants, one of the things that we did recently in Malaysia was we actually bring a bunch of merchants to their memorandum to finance minister and Chamber of Commerce. So I think we had multiple session dialogues with the ministers to drive COVID recovery. Yeah, so I think turning into the normal action of putting dollars is doing through those actions. Because let's say in March, April, especially when COVID was in the peak, the getting the restaurant owners or retailers to have a forum with the minister could be more worthwhile than us throwing advertising dollars. So I think maybe that's how I would take on this.
I see. Interesting. So, but as people spend more time at home now, how are you guys marketing your platform to make people want to go out to spend? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think because a lot of because we are B2B, right? B2B to C. So I think a lot of it is working with different platforms to do it. So let's say like example in September, DBS main page, it looks like FAVE app rather than looks like DBS, right? So DBS Payla, so we actually resurface their app. So work with them to look and feel. So I think a lot of it is instead of reaching out on our platform itself, we're actually working with different parties to reach out. Let's say Facebook. We work with Facebook and Instagram, where in Instagram, they have a one click where you can buy the FAVE e-cards through Instagram itself, right? And through Facebook. So I think it's basically leveraging collaboration with partners to do it, right? So I think when people are staying at home, then I think thinking of where people would be at, right? And then I think in December, we are working with one other prominent social media platform for an interesting campaign, right? And I think a lot of it is thinking out of the box. And how do you do at places that not many people are doing? So I'm thinking back maybe even in Singapore in 2017, right? So back then, everyone was advertising in Singapore on the trains itself and train station, MRT stations, right? So we actually work with the Singapore MRT to basically advertising at their place where they announce that train is 2 minutes. So when it's not showing train is 2 minutes, it show FAVE back then, right? There. So and those has a much better ROI back then than you go advertising a train wrapper or stations. So I think a lot of it marketing I would say is that finding ways where people today couldn't monetize and you introduce that marketing channel to them and basically be the test bed on it. Wherever that everyone is advertising, I think run away from it. Actually, like let's say think of Malaysia, this was maybe 3-4 years ago when MRT was started, right? But then we haven't done any train station advertising in Malaysia before. So, and the LRT, which was the older version of the train system, right, in Malaysia, 35% of the advertiser drop off and switch to MRT. But LRT still have a lot of main station. Let's say like KLCC Twin Tower, the station is LRT. So we actually got a front door or the main entrance of KLCC station for paying at a 300 Sing dollar a month for the main billboard at the station, because everyone else was shifting towards MRT and they suddenly had 30-40% of billboards being empty. So they had to parcel up, right? So I think a lot of it is looking at, let's say, an example in Malaysia, there's another case. Maybe I use an example here where during the election in 2018, the government were taking away most of the billboards. And then one day after election, the billboards were all empty. So that's where you go in, right, and get it. Like let's say even during lockdown period, I saw companies that go and lock in billboards in the city center at a price of maybe 95% discount. Because no one go to city center lockdown, so the billboard price is much lower. But you can lock that price for a longer period now. So I think is a lot of time is going counter cyclical in those aspects, right? So and thinking out of the box on where and what. So I guess each medium will be slightly different.
Interesting. So how do you measure such billboard sort of marketing? Like those are very mass marketing. And how do you even measure eyeballs looking at your ads? Right.
Yeah, so because we know where people open the app. So let's say think of a billboard, right? So we know, let's say billboard at the train station, we actually know how many people open the app at what time, at what station. So let's say at KLCC station, we know exactly how many people open the app in KLCC stations during the billboard versus not during billboard, right? And then how's the transaction at KLCC or walking area there during that period versus not. So I think most of it can. Of course, there are areas that when it's not location specific may not be, but I think the key of it, I think, and I think that's also why we reduce significantly on a lot of this paid spending and going into the non-paid spending, because I think those are a lot more justifiable, right? So in the end, is that barter trade. So let's say example, we know exactly how much traffic the DBS send over, right? So And I think when we work with banks as well, so let's say example, one of the ways, the initiative that we work is that every month we work with different banks, that the banks will subsidize their customers to spend on our platform. So maybe this month is OCBC, next month HSBC, the other month is Citibank. So those kind of things is basically driving the adoption, right? So I think that's another aspects. So I think and I think now with the social media meme as well, right? So let's say example, one of the things that we recently did was to attract the attention of all the shopping malls was we actually write a post and tagging all the malls and said that we go through this with them, right? So I think, and a lot of time is getting the malls to wish to come together to support each other, let's say the restaurant owners and whatnot. So I think it's going into the community bit to shift the how marketing is done traditionally.
Right. Okay, interesting. So of all the marketing activities that you have experimented with, plus partnerships and all that, which has proven to be most effective in
Yeah, so I
today's?
think yeah. I think each of those are very different as well, right? I think the objective, I think the key is that as we try on any of those, is to know what you're aiming for. Are you aiming for brand awareness? Are you aiming for conversion? Are you aiming for a certain kind of behavior shift, right? So let's say example, payment method shift. So I think everyone knows that credit card rate is a lot higher than the e-wallet rates. So I think we have worked with various campaigns to drive people to shift the payment methods on our platform or even through our partners platform to use e-wallets, because that it directly shift the cost structure for us, right? Or the other way is, I think, getting people to shift uh, the how to call it, like people that have been buying our low margin products, how do we shift them towards buying the higher margin? So example, one of the things we did recently was uh, for people that who buy FAVE, which is a lower margin, we basically every transaction trigger them a small bit of credits that can only be used to buy a higher margin product for those people that haven't bought higher margin. So basically, then you take a bit of the margin going across, and then but then these people will then, if they can adopt to the higher margin, then that will pay off, right? So I think be very tactical and knowing what you are trying to achieve. Yeah. And I saw the question on the social media post by Caroline Fong on tagging the business owner, because let's say take Facebook or Instagram, you can easily just tag the mall, right? So let's say think of it, you create a post, and then in the post you just tag all the malls and come together and say, let's solidarity together with all the malls, right? So think of it is that you can tag the 10 malls, 20 malls, and just come pull everyone together. So I think a lot is shifting mindset. So let's say think of a restaurant owners group, right, where we are very actively involved in, is that pre-COVID they all see each other as a competitor. You eat at my shop means you don't eat at the other shop. But post-COVID, the industry actually comes together as a lot of good friends. Like every day, I got hundreds of messages among restaurant owners that we are discussing different ways to help one another. And a lot of time people became more vulnerable to open up the sharing, right? Where, so for example, one restaurant owner suddenly say, oh, I want to source for cheaper beef, right? Where do I get to? And those answer question may not be even answered by us, but I think it's enable the platform for them to drive it. So I think it's working closely with them, and we don't even brand the platform as FAVE. So there's no FAVE branding it. We actually even allow other platform to go into it, right? So I think in the end is make it, think of the target audience, focus on them. And I think one of the things that I think we did during COVID period in March, April, May was for eCard, which was a new product that we launched in December, January. We waived all the commission till end of May, right? So to enable adoption and also enable people to go through the period. So I think a lot of it is selected targeting through.
So what do you think is the future of marketing moving forward? How do you think things will evolve in your opinion, and how businesses should do marketing differently? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think one is personalizations. So I think one of the things that will come pretty soon is that, let's say take a FAVE app. For 5 people to open a FAVE app, you should see different app, even though it's the same FAVE app. So I think so today we have already done several aspects. So let's say today the email that you get from FAVE, person A and person B and person C will actually receive different email that is customized to you. And these are all done fully automation, right? So we invest a lot in automations to build it through. So I think our app today still looks the same, right, for everyone. Of course, there are a little bit of banner difference and here and there, but I would say 80-90% is still the same. But we know different users are very different profile. Some people focus on certain type of services, certain kind of buy, certain behavior. We will prefer different things. So I think we are embarking on efforts to basically refresh entire thing and enable full personalizations. And so to see what kind of users need to see what kind of pages, right? So I think that was sort of, so I think a lot of it today as a business, when we do marketing, is no longer, I think in the good old days is we push, right? We write something, we push, we do this thing, we send, right? And I think over the last few years, we see some personalization. Let's say push notification, people may not send to push to everyone. People start doing some bit of here and there, right? Like Facebook, maybe people do a certain segment targeting and whatnot. But I think those are at a surface level. Right now is how do you do personalization at scale? And those are key, right? And I think there are multiple platforms as well that you could work with. So I think platform like Insider, Clever Tab, More Engage, Netcore, and a bunch of others, right? So I think there are multiple platforms that could do a lot of those kind of aspects as well. And the key is how do we work across, right? And I think for us is how do we take this technology and enable it to the small scale SMEs, right? That who can't afford any of this technology. So I think a lot of it, maybe the technology that I talked about just now, those kind of platforms, maybe the mid-size and above can go straight to those and build your full scale customization. But if let's say today you own a 1-2 outlets, the ROI would not make sense for you to do that. And I think that's where platform like us and a bunch to that you could leverage on. I think today Lazada, Shopee, Grab, everyone is moving towards that kind of personalization. It's just everyone have a slightly different take of how to do the personalization. So I think data is building. So let's say example for our merchants, everyone we built a monthly dashboard that is fully done by AI, right? And there's no human being. So we create 30 slides for 30,000 merchants, right? And that is about close to 1 million slides a month, fully created, drawn, written, designed by machine. Eventually, if you use time to design your own slide for 1 million slides, it will take forever. So I think a lot of it is that. And I think there's also a lot more building. So I think it's constantly learning and learn and then removing towards that.
And how do you think like 5G, for example, right, is gonna change the way people market as well? Yeah.
I think 5G as a backbone, I think will still take quite some time, but I think what it does is enable faster internet speed, right? And then wider internet coverage. So I think that will be, for me, the immediate. And when I say faster internet speed, they enable things like more video, more virtual reality, augmented realities, and all those kind of things to be done. So I wouldn't say it's a completely shift, but I think it would enable much faster internet and people consumption of data would be very different. But I think today even at 4G or 4G plus, the consumption of data is more or less sufficient in a lot of countries already, right? So let's say like Singapore, if you're home internet, I think you have pretty much more than enough bandwidth to do anything you want. In Singapore, the mobile internet, the package from what I understand is still limited. I think 10 gig, 20 gig, 5 gig, right? But I think in a certain country, let's say like Malaysia, I don't even have home internet. It's all mobile internet. And the package start from 100 gig and above, right? So I think that's where the evolution is, right? So and I think that things will shift. And I think this year 2020 teach all of us that we can evolve and we can adapt. Let's take that, say, even start of the year till now. right? I think that with COVID moving ups and downs, second wave, third waves, and everything, people have learned how to adapt this and building on different things. So I think the key is be resilient, be adaptable. If you're resilient, adaptable, you can go through. So I think it's a lot more mindset. And I think if there's a team, how to get the team to be focusing on that.
I see. All right, we'll open the floor to questions. So feel free to type in the chat box, right? So, things change too fast, right? To be honest, Chen Chow. You see, like even we experienced the COVID, the pandemic right from the beginning. We had our seminar and all that, right? Our webinar, our virtual summit, so to speak, and then now the webinar. We see that a lot of things shift very quickly, right? From people meeting outside to going into Zoom. And in the beginning, yeah, so there was a hype, right? So everybody started going for the online events. And then after some time, and I myself, I'm observing a dip, right, in this kind of engagement. So they changed very fast, like in a period of a few months. Now let's talk about business, right? The e-commerce businesses, businesses who from offline they try to move online, and then suddenly you see, oh, all their competitors are already online, all all standardized, right? Standardized way of doing marketing. So government gives a grant, and everyone's on the marketplaces. And then when they hop on the marketplace and say, oh, still cannot sell, we're not selling well, and then they spend money, invest in e-commerce shop. They did that because everyone else has it. It makes no difference again. So they must always be one step ahead. I mean, what is your advice for businesses then? When we talk about evolution, we talk about being always, resilience is one, but always be adaptable. But it seems that the adaptability, because the consumers also don't know that they change their behavior, but over some time you just realize that they don't do certain things anymore, and you got to change your tech. Yeah. So how would you go about that? I mean, for you need to deal with consumers a lot also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the consumer will continue to change and adapt, right? So I think of it the good old days. Today you are saying that you are good at Facebook. People will like, okay, you're old school, right? Because I think the days of Facebook when I think, or even before that, I think if you think of IRC, ICQ, then we went to Yahoo Messenger, MSN Messenger, then you go to the Facebook age, Twitter age, then went on the Instagram, YouTube age, and then now people going on Snapchat, and then now people are on TikTok and all those kind of thing, right? So I think people evolve. So I think one is that consumer will continue to evolve. I think businesses starting to evolve, right? So I think that would be one aspects that going in, right? And I think that you really pointed out, I think Renee, that let's say talks, right? In March, April, people were all gung ho on talks, and now there are just so many talks and so many sessions, right? So the question then is that I think the way I look at it, the evolving is focus on the end goal, right? What you try to achieve. And I think a lot of time, all these technologies will come and go. But I think what you do is how to make it easier, cheaper, better, faster. So let's say we build an e-commerce store. Does this reduce your cost or increase your cost per transaction, right? Are you able to do scaling better or worse? Is it making it more convenient for your user and your team or less? Right? So how do you be able to scale to go on it, right? So I think example, like when we did the e-cards, back then, if you want to design an e-card for offline shops, you actually have to design a physical card and then make a smart card on it, and then basically do detect it. Or the other one is you go build an app or website to track it, or collect phone number to track it, or do physical paper that you can't track, right? And I think when we launched it, e-cards, right, basically enables people to any store to do a store value for their shops, and people can go there to pay, and you can do it within few minutes, right? So if you think I want a store value now for Subway, let's say today you own Subway in Singapore, 10 minutes later you can actually have that, right, and work in all your stores. So I think it's evolving. Let's say like credit cards, right? So I think back then you want to accept credit card payments, you have to go through 1-2 weeks to apply, fill out a bunch of forms to get a credit card machine. And today, let's say FAVE, when we went in there, is anyone can get accept credit card payments within minutes. So let's say even right now you're on your laptop, you can go on your phone, download FAVEBiz, FAVEBiz, before we end these sessions, before the Q&A ends, you can already accept credit card payments for anyone, right? Accept Grab Pay from anyone, right? So, and enable people in DBS PayLah and Singtel Dash to pay. So I think that this whole journey to get that happen is maybe within 5 minutes, right? So I think that's sort of how things are evolving and shifting to it, right? So that enable people to go on it. Let's say just now talk about the slides making, the analytics, right? Back then you actually have the people to go analyze it. And the big company will still continue to have people to analyze it. But today, if you're running a small retail, you're not going to be able to do it. So I think the goal is constantly, how do you take those things that luxury people can have, and today everyone can have, right? Think of 10 years ago, only the big shots have the private drivers, right? The VIPs and whatnot. Today, all of us can have our own private drivers. Just open up Grab app or Gojek app and just press a button. Then your private driver will come and pick you up, right? So back then, only the rich people can afford to stay at a unique home. Today, anyone else can do it at an Airbnb. So I think the world is constantly doing that to level that playing field, right? So I think the technology innovation will continue to evolve, right? So I think if you look at it, like let's say Chop does their queuing, I think every platform, and I think within the platform, we are actually knowing each other quite well. And a lot of it is not even competition. I think a lot of it is synergistic and try to help another. Right? Let's say Oyo, OYO, that enable people to stay at 1-star, 2-star hotels, that knowing that you'll be clean. And that was a big wave on it, right? Right now, when I travel, a lot of time I just stay at those kind of Oyo kind of type of hotels. Because let's say in Malaysia right now, my one night hotel stay at most part of the country is now 10 to 15 Sing dollar a night. Versus previously I had to pay $50, $100. Of course, it doesn't have any facilities besides a clean room, a nice, okay bed, and a clean bathroom, and nothing else. But most of the time when I travel, that's what I look for, right? Unless you go for more luxury holidays. So I think a lot of it is seeing technology that shifting this thing and building that, right? Yeah, like airlines. I think right now with so many airlines, you can build on it. Yeah, Mel Vinegar. Yeah, I think you talk about KOL influencer marketing. And I think this is interesting. So I was just on a Google podcast by A16Z few days ago listening. It was an older podcast that I was listening to, and it was talking about this, how to reach out to the millennial, right? Or the Gen Z, right? And I think one of the things about influencer marketing, right? I think the key influencer marketing is that key to know is that it is not how much followers that influencer has that's going to be matter. I think a lot of it is how do you be able to hit the right brand messaging, and does the influencer speak with conviction for your brand? Does the influencer brand value tied to it? And I think one other metrics that I look closely on that is that when you do any of those, is that I would usually look at the followers or engagement, divide over how many brands they have. So this was what I actually learn from Spotify, right? So I think when they basically building on it, when they pull in a bunch of influencers, is that I think the micro influencer that doesn't have advertisement in their social media, those are the best target audience. So today, let's say if someone has a 1,000 people, 2,000 people Instagram, almost all or 99% of those people are their friends. That's actually the best influencer. Get a lot of those. For those influencers, you give them a meal, they will actually be happy to publish it. But if you go to the influencer that has 10,000 people, that they are used to people paying them $500, $1,000, and they have so many ads, then they people know that there's advertisements. So I think in the end is how do you get to people's heart into it? So I think that would be one aspect. And then I think Mel Solis, what are some low-cost marketing tools platform we recommend for a social enterprise with limited budget? So I think in the end, maybe I would say that forget the tools, but understand your target audience. Who is your target audience? Where would they be? And at what juncture of their time that you want to hit them? Start from there. Don't start from platform. Don't start from tools, right? So, and always understanding the segment. So let's say if you today want to drive it online, don't use FAVE. because FAVE is not online. FAVE serve offline businesses, right? So I think a lot of it is understanding the segment that you are hitting, right? And so where the target audience is. Maybe you want to. I don't know whether okay to you to unmute and explain a bit your scenario, and then maybe we can go at them.
Yeah,
Renee,
okay.
okay?
Hi, Mel. Would you like to share your screen and just unmute just to give us a little bit of context on your question so that Chen Chow can advise? Don't be shy. I mean, later on, we also have consultation sessions, so everybody will get to speak. So don't worry. Chen Chow is just going to be here for another few minutes only. So Mel, would you like to
Yeah.
unmute?
Can
Yeah.
you, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. I actually just do a little bit of introduction. I am Mel. I am from Solace Art Psychotherapy. I'm actually helping them with, I just came in to help them with like some marketing. Marketing is very new for me because I was, teaching for a very long time before I decided to do marketing. So I guess one of the things that we face is that we have a very limited budget in terms of marketing, and being a mental health we provide mental health help for people, and we find a little bit like difficult to market ourselves, because I think even though there is so much talk about mental health, people still always associate like seeking mental help like at IMH, for example. So just trying to find trying to understand how, whether we can still use certain tools to help us bring our message out there besides like the Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
I think good questions. Yeah, there, right? So I think mental health recently with the mental health week. I think that day or week that recently, I think this month, right? A few weeks ago. So I think definitely, I think there's a lot more awareness. I think within our company itself, I think we actually brought in a few speakers to speak on mental health recently. We actually even create a page for our team with all the mental health needed on it. And every 2 weeks, we actually do a sessions by our internal team to share on these aspects, right? So I think it's definitely an aspect that is a lot more focused. I think one of the area you could actually reach out to is reach out to company HR just through use LinkedIn and just add them as connection and just message them, because I think then and find out what kind of company that currently could having mental health could be a value for their employee. And the model doesn't have to be company paid, right? So it could be some company maybe say, okay, the company may be willing to do some company paid or company introduction. But so sometimes you could actually even agree to the company and say, okay, I'll go in there and maybe do a sharing session for the staff, right? And maybe at the end, we will leave the staff with potential that if they want to do some personal add-on, they can do it, right? So then that could be a way for you to gain your leads indirectly, because in the end, I think it's hit the target audience, right? And then maybe which kind of sector, which kind of companies, like which kind of organizations. And I think also based on the scale that you can do, maybe certain type of organization could be more suitable. So a lot of time may not mean, so let's say SIA, maybe there could be thousands of people. The question is that your target audience or maybe not? And if it's not, what kind of organization that's most suitable, right? And then I think you hit the right key, because in the end is that today, every day, we all been bombarded by hundreds of marketing messages, right? Anywhere we go social media, every day there's lots of marketing messages. But I think the key is how do you resonate? Think back on our own, right? When was the last few times that we react to some messages? Most of the time, we actually ignore the messages, whether emails, whether push, whether in the social media, whether in billboard, in the mall, everywhere people are trying to get attention. So I think in the end is the attention hitting you at the right time. And then there was once I was speaking to McDonald, right? And this was in Malaysia where McDonald, where a lot of people were fasting. So McDonald, the best marketing during the fasting month was in the daytime, where they actually darken their ads, where getting people to on prayer and talk about religions. And that was actually much better marketing. So there's no burger, no nothing. But these people were fasting. And McDonald's actually shift their positioning that during the fasting hours, their social media ads were telling people to pray well, and last thing, we are here with you, don't tempt you with food, and don't even talk about food, everything. And then what they found is as they start doing that, and then in evening when people can eat, they drive the marketing, the conversion rate goes way higher than a previous year when they don't do that. So a lot of time is thinking out loud, what is the audience? Yeah, not sure whether this is helpful.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Chen Chow. I understand that it's almost time that you gotta join in your team meeting. So thank you so much, Chen Chow. For those of you who have other questions, you know, we could always direct the questions to him after. All right, let's thank Chen Chow with a thank you note in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, Chen, any last message for the audience before you leave? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks Renee for having me. And I think to all of y'all, I think that as you think of targeting is, when you think of marketing and targeting, don't think of yourself or your organizations. Think of the target audience. Be in the mind of the target audience. What do they need? So start from them. If you can create value for them, your marketing will work. And in the end, it's not the number of marketings or whatnot. In the end, it's how do you move them to take actions, right? And I think that's where key. And maybe look at your top customers, the best customer that you have. How do they know about you? How do you do more of that, right? So I think that could be something. And then with that, all the best. Yeah, if anything, feel free to pass the question to Renee, and I'm happy to engage, or feel free to link in me. Okay, thank you. All the best.
Chen Chow, and have a great week ahead as well. All right. Thank you. Let's move on to our consultation session. So